Good evening and welcome to TABA, a new show that I'm trying to put together to give the ordinary person a chance to come on and tell their story. I've watched millions of podcasts where people who have either wrote books, have been on telly, they're sportsmen, they're celebrities, whatever it may be. And I think back to my own sort of experiences, and I know I've got thousands of stories, and I know lots of other people have thousands of stories which are worth telling, whether they be funny or just all through. So what I'll do is I'll start with my own story, and I will try and give my recollection of growing up, getting through my teenage years to adulthood, if I ever actually got there, and to where I am today and what I'm planning on doing moving forward. So I'll take it right back to the very start. I grew up in a town in the west coast of Scotland, Dumbarton, and more namely a little place called Bruce Hill. It was a brilliant, brilliant place to grow up, full of really great people, but we'll come on to that in a second. When I was 2, I must have always been a greedy little bastard, because I pulled a cup of tea all around me, and it basically gave me scars from halfway up my left arm, right down over my chest and my shoulder, and down to my belly as well. I wonder now, thinking back, and stuff that I know now, if that affected me growing up in terms of confidence and the ability to sort of take my top off in the summer that the other lads were doing at my age. You'd never have seen me with my top off, and I wonder if that was sort of a mental thing from that. Essentially me being a greedy little bastard and throwing a cup of tea around myself. So I lived in Bruce Hill with my mum, my older brother, my little sister and my little brother. Growing up was a bit crazy, really. Me and my older brother were a handful, I'd say, for wee bud. Jamie, typical older brother, used to tell me that the hard bit of the chocolate inside the feast was poisonous to me because I was younger. To fucking throwing a dart in my one flank football and then getting a hot knife to try and fix it and slicing it in fucking half. So just daft stuff like that must have put wee bud through the ringer, I'd reckon. I was a bit of a tearaway as a youngster. I'd always be the daft boy that people came and got. If it was to, let's go and smash a window, let's go and smash a car, let's just go and be a pain in the arse to people. I was a guy. Again, I don't know if it was sort of bravado on my part, trying to compensate for other things, but I don't know. Some of the daft things I'd done growing up there was I was cycling my bike around a block up in Bruce Hill, and I had a jawbreaker in my mouth, and it fucking went down the back of my throat, and I nearly choked to death. There was a guy there, Mick O'Malley, always remember him, put 2 of his fingers right down the back of my throat and pulled the jawbreaker out. I'd say Mick saved my life at that point. So cheers for that, Mick, if you ever hear this. Other daft things that I was up to was I'd take the door off of the lamppost and I'd cycle a bike into it. I'd get in the metal to smash into the plug and get sparks everywhere. I thought that was a great idea. Now older, probably not wiser. I know that wasn't a great idea. I was pretty much on the radar of the police for a very young age. I was shoplifting, causing breach of the peace, just basically being a kid, you know, but a bit of a pain in the arse. I thought I got on all right with people. I didn't do well at school, and I'd probably say now again, what I know now, that's probably because I wasn't very intelligent, and I just fucked about to mask that. The idea of sitting in a class of 30 people and probably being one of the ones who wasn't that clever didn't really appeal to me that much. So in school, I was constantly in front of teachers, I was in front of head teachers, And basically I was just a pain in the arse. But that was just the way it was. I sort of bunked school a lot, just didn't go in. My mum would send me fair play to her, but I'd never really make it to the other end. So I think it was around about primary 7. I went into school for the first day back after summer holidays, and they said to us, right, what he's going to do next year when he's going to high school, write it in a letter. I remember it clear as day. I was in a wee huts in St Michael's, and then I basically wrote, school shit. I hate it now. I'm going to hate it even more when I go to high school. I got asked to apologise to the teacher, to which I said no. And then I was asked to leave the school and ended up going to a different school. One where I could make my own way up in the morning and basically, again, never make it there. I recall times walking up for Bruce. I went to Castle to go to this school. I used to just dive up the hills and just sit in there for a day. Some days I'd fucking bang my head off a post so that I'd sort of injure myself and not have to go in. But that was all. Again, when I think back to it, that's probably just me not wanting to go to school, look like the thick kid, just be daft and fuck about with everybody, you know. St Michael's eventually did sort of let me back in. And I managed to get through it, but one incident did happen there which sort of didn't set me up nicely for high school, really, because I went to high school on a visit with a load of primary 7s, my mates and stuff like that. And I'm walking about thinking, I'm this, I'm that, you know, I'm the big man about here. And I walked into the toilet with a load of my pals, a load of other people in there. And I basically just said, well, who the fuck wants to fight? And one lad, I assume my opposite for another school, put his hand up and said, yeah, I'll fucking fight. So the two of us had a fight in the toilet. The teachers came out and got us, basically sat us down at that point and said, you're never really going to make it here. But aye, that was all right. Again, school wasn't really for me at that time. Thinking back now, I probably should have tried to stick in a bit more, but I didn't at the time, so fuck that. Couple of other things when I was growing up, it's like, I mean, me and my brother talk about this to this day, and we can never agree on who actually done what. But my ma, bless her, got us a dog, little Blackie it was called. And the poor little fucker ended up in a fridge eating the Sunday dinner. I'll always say it was Jamie will always say it was me. But hey ho, my ma had to get rid of the dog because she couldn't really trust us to look after it properly. Which was probably a fair one when we're throwing it in the fridge to eat dinner. So, moved into high school. I think high school I probably lasted 4 months, I'd say. As soon as I got there, I knew it wasn't for me. It was the bigger classes again, lots of different classes. I didn't have the sort of mental capacity to be there. I hated it. I hated learning all that shit that I didn't think I'd ever use. So for me, it was just a process of going in the morning, skipping, doing whatever I could not to go to school. But I mean, it was one of the ones. I just never really had much time for it, to be honest with you. I prefer just bunk off, nip into town, bit of shoplifting as you do at that age. And go and steal some sweeties or whatever it was I was doing at the time. But I was starting to get a bit of a reputation with the police and that at the time as well. Yeah, I was yeah, so around about that time, I was probably making a bit of a name for myself and knowing a good way with the police and stuff like that. I was cutting about, being extremely naughty at the time. I was doing all sorts of stuff. I wasn't attending school. I was going into town shoplifting. Basically just being a bit of an arse. But it was getting brought to the attention of the police. I was getting lifted almost daily for a breach of the peace, shoplift, just whatever it was I was doing that day. And they knew me quite well by that point. And I was cheeky as fuck with them all the time as well. I never really gave them any other respect that they probably deserved at the time as well. But school was my massive Achilles heel. I couldn't cope with it. I didn't like it at all. I was sort of getting took out of classes because I was being disruptive. They put me into a class with my big brother. Again, I'd try and be disruptive in there. It just wasn't really working out for me. And I always remember this. I probably get called a liar at the time, but it's true. I get sat in a room with 4 teachers, and basically they put me in my place, really. I think I was 11 or 12. They were basically just saying, you're just a little dick, you're a little arsehole, you're a prick, just swearing at me and as you would to an adult. And I was just sitting there thinking, wow, teachers actually do that as well. But nobody would believe me if I told them then when I said that. But it happened. But I think the final straw came at school one day when me and my brother were pissing about. And we were trying to draw on each other's face, but it drew a massive crowd of people. And the teachers came out and they stopped it, 10 us in. And I just wouldn't shut up. I was telling them to fuck off and all sorts of stuff like that, just showing absolute zero respect. As I was doing with a lot of things at that time. So I got suspended. I got asked to leave the school. I think initially it was for a week or so, but I can't really remember. But during that week off, as much as my ma tried, I was out and about. I was doing what I wanted to do. And there was one day I went to town with a friend. I'll use that loosely. Basically, we went shoplifting and got up the road and the police grabbed me somewhere and they're saying to me, you know you done this, you know you done that, and they put me in the cells. And it wasn't the first time I'd been in the cells, but it was certainly the longest time I'd been in the cells. And I knew at that point there was definitely something amiss that day. And it must have been about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. I got took down to the children's panel. And it was an emergency panel that they'd held. And this is obviously how much I was going off the rails at this time. They held an emergency panel and basically said, right, you're going to a children's home. And that was enough for me. As much as I walked about, getting the big tough one, thinking I'm this, I'm that, I fucking broke my heart crying. I don't even lie about it. I broke my heart. I got took to the doctors, got a medical done. And I hated the thought that that was me going away from my family. It was only 8-10 miles down the road, but it was horrible, horrible, horrible time. And when I got there, there was people there who knew me. They tried to tell me everything would be fine. I mean, I was crying myself to sleep at night. I was 11-year-old, and that was the first time I'd really been away. But I was there for a week this time. And during that week, it was sort of just sitting there having meetings and talking to staff and stuff like that. And I think it might have been initially just to give me a bit of a shock. Say, as a kick up the arse, sort your life out, or we're going to sort it out for you. So I got that a week later. I don't remember if the school accepted me back or not, but There's another panel set for a couple of months later, and it's irrelevant anyway because I get put back in the home. In fact, the school didn't accept me back. They didn't want me back at all. And they said I was being disruptive to my older brother. Figure that one out, but hey, it's my own fault for being a dick. But a couple of months later, I got sent back to the home, the same home this time. But this time it was totally different for me as well. I thought, I've fucking been here before, this is easy, I know what I'm doing this time. Walked in with a totally different attitude. I wasn't crying this time, I was in thinking I'm this, I'm that. Couple of nights in, barricaded myself in a room with a couple of people. On the sort of Saturday, the weekend when everybody else was home, I thought, fucking, I'm going home. I'm going home as well. So I just walked home. They didn't even notice, to be fair, that I'd left. And it wasn't until I got home, my ma phoned them and said, "Is my son there?" And they said, yeah. And actually, I'd already fucked off. I was in the house. So they kind of fucked that one up, to be fair. So I went back. And then one of the nights that week, there was myself, 2 girls and 2 other lads. We barricaded in properly this time. Like idiots, we threw a bed out the window. It was a bed that was actually barricading the door, so we blew that one a bit, to be fair. So we rebarricaded and stuff like that, and then final straw came when we ended up trying to set the room on fire. I don't know what we thought we were going to achieve at that point, but obviously in them was axes going through the door for the fire brigade. And at that point, I knew I was in the shit. I knew I was properly in the shit. As if there wasn't any shit already for barricading in the room. This went to a whole new level. So I get sent to a different home. This time it was Newfield, a home in Johnson it was. This place had like a bit of a reputation. It had like bars on the window and stuff like that. And essentially it was a 3-week assessment centre where you get sent to see if you sort of could rehabilitate back into normal school and stuff like that. I wasn't allowed home at the weekends, family were allowed to come and visit me and stuff like that. But again, that was a horrible experience, and I won't sort of big it up. When I was at the court for throwing the bed out the window and stuff like that, I cried again. It just wasn't a nice feeling knowing that I was going away further than I'd already been. But I knew people in there as well, so there's a side of me thinking, yeah, this will be all right, it'll be all right. But actually, it wasn't all right. It was pretty fucking horrendous. You got on in there. You basically went to school as you normally would, and then you just go back and you do what you do in a home. You do your schoolwork. You go back, you sit, chill for the night, and maybe go out to a centre or something like that. And then bed and back to it. But this time you had a key worker said to me and stuff like that. And after 3 weeks, we'd done like a case review, and I was expecting that at that point that would be me fine, I'd be going home. Turns out I wasn't ready to go home then either. They basically told me because I'd had a fight or two with a couple of guys in there in the class throwing chairs at each other and stuff like that, I wasn't yet ready to go back. So again, that hammered me a wee bit. But then after sitting thinking about it, I was going out most nights to do ice skating, swimming, whatever it was we chose to do with them. And I just thought, you know what, this isn't that bad after all. It's not bad at all. And at the next case review, I'd resigned myself. I was never going back to high school with like, all my friends and my family, my brother and stuff like that. So I'd resigned myself to a place I wanted to go called St Philip's, which was a residential school up in Airdrie. So I spoke to them and I said, yeah, this is where I wanted to go. And that's where I went. Became a resident there for the next few years. I shouldn't really say it was a brilliant place. I met some really great people there. There's guys there who, and I mean the staff there were absolutely amazing. They looked after you properly and had you at nights up playing football. You'd go hill walking and stuff like that. And I know that sounds like I'm glamorising being away to a children's home and stuff like that, but if you're not very good at school, then they've got to find other ways to actually help you. And for me, that was absolutely brilliant. There's people, I'm not going to name names on this, only because I don't really want to maybe embarrass anybody or that. But there's people from at home who I still talk to from time to time, and I've told them before that they were brilliant with me, absolutely brilliant. They made sure that everybody was all right. If you're having shit days and stuff like that, they'd look after you. You know, you go out every night, play football, down to the boxing club, down in the fields, just shooting the shit, playing fucking about in the fields and stuff like that. So, again, not trying to glamorise the children's home, but I really enjoyed my time in there. Some of the school stuff was a bit mental because, again, it was like 6 people in a class, and it was all the same classes you do at normal school, but you literally just ran out your class and went to fuck about. If you couldn't be bothered going to that class, then you didn't go. You just sort of skipped away from it, and then the staff would come and find you, they'd chase you. It was a totally different world. And again, probably for somebody like myself and some of the other lads that were in there, probably a good place because we weren't the brightest. So we sort of didn't really fit in big classes, but in there we were doing all right, as well as you could be in a children's home. So there it was sort of 5 days a week, and then you were down the road every weekend, which was great because you'd get down the road, see your family, and then you go back up. I remember, on my first weekend home, I'll never forget it. For some reason, me and a few of my mates thought, yeah, this would be a great idea. Let's have a bottle fight with each other, as in throwing bottles at each other. And one of them just skited me right in the fucking head, for a distance as well. And I looked up and this bottle hit me right in the head, and I had to go back the next day and explain to them that I'd fell. But yeah, I was a bit mental as well. So in there, it's like you got your case review all the time as well, every couple of months, and they would tell you where you were going well and stuff like that. And they would tell me, they'd tell you where you're doing all right and stuff like that. I seemed to be doing okay in there. Wasn't getting into much trouble. I was going to all my classes. I was playing football for the school team against other residential schools and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed it, taking you away from the big class environment and the small groups environments, which I really enjoyed it, to be fair. Started doing a couple of days a week in there and a couple of days at home. I mean, it worked all right. You were getting up in the morning in the train, a couple of days there, and back down the road. So essentially I was living between 2 places at that point. But I was getting more back into hanging about down where I was. And I won't ever say it was anybody else's fault that anything that I ever done or happened to me, it wasn't their fault. When people talk about the wrong group, I was the wrong group for people to hang about with. I was a bit of a nightmare at times. But when I think it was about 14, I'd been in St Philip's for 2 years. I was 14 and I was getting into fights with a lot of older guys. They were a lot older than me, talking mid to late 20s. And one of them fights just went too far. We had a scrap, we were rolling about, blood all over my face and stuff like that. And I'd wiped myself off, and then I thought nothing more of it. Like, maybe 2 weeks later, I was out with one of my pals. We were just talking, and one of his friends came out. He must have been between 25 and 28. And like I say, I was 14. And he came over and was like, I heard you were fighting with so-and-so. Like, yeah, that's right. And I was just expecting that he was wanting to fight me as well. And let's be honest, MD knows me. I'm not the tallest guy in the world. Never been the tallest guy, so I could hold my own. But I thought he punched me in the chest, and I just thought, what the fuck's that? And I felt dead warm and stuff like that. I put my hand in my jacket, and I'd been stabbed. I thought, fuck. What do? You know, you don't think you're going to die, or at least you hope you're not. But the 14-year-old lad, I've got a knife just in my chest, and I sort of flapped a bit. I didn't know what to do. Luckily for me, there was a mate with me at the time who did. And basically, he carried me from where we were about a mile to my area in Bruce Hill. Take me into a chip shop, and we sat in a chair, fucking waiting in an ambulance. But while we were waiting in the ambulance, Bruce Hill, for context, it's quite a small area, and word gets about, even the days before mobile phones and stuff like that. It was almost like fucking a sixth sense. People just knew there was something happening. So I remember sort of sitting there, drifting in and out. I could just feel the colour draining out of my face. I remember seeing my ma, but when I was going out of the shop, seeing a crowd of people there, and it was like my brother, my cousin, loads of my mates, and they're all there. And I think everybody was in a bit of shock, to be honest with you. They're all just looking, and I don't know how I looked at the time. I must have been fucking white as a ghost. But some of them looked a bit scared, but I could see as well they were a bit fucking ready to go and find the guy who'd done it. And I'm not sure if they did, that would have ended well for him that night. I always swore after that, if I seen him, I'd kill him, because to do that to somebody is a 14-year-old boy, a 28-year-old doing that to you is pretty ridiculous. So I always swore I would kill him if I seen him. Thankfully, I never seen him, and I never did kill him. So, yeah. When I got to the hospital, the CID came in and they said to me, "You know who done it?" I was like, I don't, honestly don't. And they were like, "Well, we know who done it." I was like, "Well, good for you." They actually said the guy's name, and I said, "I don't know him." And they said, basically, they said, "Why the fuck are you sticking up for somebody who stabbed you?" I was like, "I'm not. I mean, I come from a place where you don't stick people in." Again, as I grew up, that was the rules. You didn't grass on people. So even at 14, with a knife hanging up my chest, had a knife just been in my chest, I sat there and denied all knowledge of knowing the person, which it is what it is when you come from that sort of area, innit? But I mean, that I never ever really dealt with that properly, to be honest with you. And again, I know I say it a lot, but as I think back, there should have been some sort of counselling for that, because that never really got dealt with in terms of sort of processing it, what could have happened and stuff like that. And you sort of, as a young guy, you don't really think about it too much. But if you think back and the consequences and stuff like that, it was a lot at the time that just get put to the back of the mind and never really thought about it again. But yeah, enough about that. That guy, I'd never really seen him again. So luckily for me, and probably him at the time, we sort of just went our separate ways in life. So I went back. I was still in home at this point, and I stayed there. I was going to do my exams and stuff like that. I don't think I got any. So I was still not home at that time, and again, I was never going to do it academically. So in terms of doing exams and stuff like that, I was never too fussed about it. It wasn't something that I thought would benefit me in life anyway. But around about the time, there was people asking me to go and do stuff with them and sell stuff with them and stuff like that. But I was in the home, you know, so it was just one of them. I'm going to get that done. Between sort of 16 and 18, I was again starting to drift in the wrong sort of path. And I was picking up charges. It wasn't anything major. It was stupid, like breach of the peace, fucking drinking in the street, another breach of the peace, whatever it might have been. And I don't know, something just happened and I thought I need to get away. I need to get away from here. Then I decided around about, I think it was New Year, 98. I thought, you know, I'm going to give the army a go away for 3 years. Try and sort my life out, maybe get a qualification out of it, and maybe get a decent life. Because the road I was going down, I was heading straight to prison, you know what I mean? There was no two ways about that. So I went to the careers office and I had a couple of pending fucking charges for breach of the peace. So I decided I'd try and get away for a couple of years and go to the army. I suppose it turned out to be the longest 3 years of my life. They said they couldn't get in until the charges were away. So I had to go to court and explain to my lawyer that I was going to go to the army. He relayed that to the judge, who said if he seen me again, then it'd be a different story. But this time, go away, try and make something of your life, be a better man, blah, 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 all the nonsense. The next time I see you, you're going to go to jail, and I'm thinking to myself, what for a fucking breach of the peace. But anyway, by the by, I joined the army in April 19. Sorry, just before that, I was working in a YTS job. The YTS job to me was putting scaffolds up, building a couple of walls and stuff like that. The foreman at the time, Bernie, good guy. He said to me, "We need you to go and paint a fence." And I said, "No, I'm not doing it." And he said, "Well, you need to. It's the fence outside." I was like, "Listen, I'm not here to fucking paint fences. Like, if you want to paint a fence, mate, go and do it yourself or get somebody else to do it." And he's like, "Well, if you don't do it, I'm going to let you go." I said, "Well, fucking let me go then, Bernie." And the next day, he got me in. I had to get in front of the manager, and they did let me go. But I said to him, I was like, "I'm going to go to the army." And he's like, "Do you know what, mate?" He's like, "If you can't handle a simple task like going to paint a fence for me, you're never going to hack the army." I sort of just laughed. I said, "Aye, whatever." And funnily enough, thankfully, he gave me a glowing report to get in the army. So, cheers for that. So, but April 99, I joined the army. Went down to Winchester. I remember this as clear as day. It told me to be there you had to be there for the Monday. So me being me, I got there on the Monday night. Turns out you had to be there the Sunday night ready to go for Monday morning. But I walked into the auditorium and there's like 100 other people there. And I'd never actually get back to my ma about this one, but she borrowed me a pair of jeans off of one of my uncles at the time. And they were a pair of brown ones. They were fucking, they were disgusting. And I walked in, I was like, "Oh, this state of me." Yeah, everybody's probably looking at me laughing, like, "Who the fuck's this idiot? He's a day late and he's dressed like that." So it wasn't a good start in basic training for me, that's for sure. But the things that I remember is going to London for the first time myself, or the first time in my life. But I was myself and I had to get on the subway. And since that day, I've hated the subway. I'm walking through it and it was just disgusting. It was something that I'd never seen before. Bear in mind, I grew up in Dumbarton. I'm only joking. So that was it. That was the start of basic training. It was all downhill for there. first 3 weeks I had a fucking nightmare. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. Didn't have a clue where I was to be. Didn't have a clue about anything. I remember I phoned my cousin one day and I said to him, I was like, you know, I've had enough of this. I'm fucking binning it. And he's like, what do you mean you've had enough? I said, I just had enough. I don't like it. He's like, but you've not even gave it a fucking chance. Like, you've not got out the training bit yet. And that kind of stuck with me. Anytime I felt like this is shit, he was absolutely right. So I decided to crack on with phase 1 training. Phase 1 was fairly uneventful, 12 weeks of becoming a soldier, really. Learning all the basic stuff to get you there. But at the end, that 12 weeks, when your family come down, I was so proud to be passing out in front of them. I didn't think they'd made it. And then when I was running down to the square to do a PT show or some sort, I just seen them all and I was dead proud of that. But after that, we had like a 14-hour journey back up the road, a detour into London, and now knowing how to get through Winchester to Scotland, you should steer well clear of fucking London. Phase 2 training was a bit different. I ended up spending a long time there. I had sort of dermatitis in my hands, and they were looking to see if I had eczema and stuff like that, so I was going to get kicked out. So I ended up getting paid off the army to spend a lot of time at home, which was a good and a bad thing, because I got used to getting the money, but being at home as well. Yeah, so again, fairly uneventful. I passed it as a tank driver, which was an achievement itself, because as I spoke about earlier on, I'm not exactly the most clever guy in the world. So learning a whole new system, that took a lot of effort and a lot of hard work. I could drive it, but learning everything else about it was quite difficult for me. So I got to my unit, the Royal Tank Regiment, and within a couple of weeks there, I remember my troop sergeant saying to me, what team do you support? I said, I support Celtic. He's like, they were all Rangers fans, so straight away there was a bit of piss taking and stuff like that. And he said to me, right, we're going parachuting. In a couple of weeks' time, I was like, look, I don't really want to go. Like, I'm not going on a fucking aeroplane for my first time and jumping out yet. He said, you're going. It's part of being in the army, you've got to do stuff like this. So I went up in the plane. The lad in front of me, who still quite I'm pals with now, if he watches this, he'll know who I'm talking about. I sat there with him, and my face was going fucking chalk white. It was going chalk white. Got up, I didn't jump. I refused point blank to do it, so we got back on the ground. Had to go and speak to like the chief instructor at the parachute school. He said to me, when did you know you weren't going to jump? And I said to him, I was like, fucking 3 weeks ago. And he said, well, what are you doing here then? I said, well, I get told I had to come. He's like, but if you knew you weren't going to jump, why'd you come? I was like, he told me I had to do it, so I came here. But to be fair, although I didn't jump, I learned what Germany was about on the piss. What a place. So essentially I got drunk for 2 weeks, done a bit of fucking weeding of the airfield, but I never parachuted. So my first couple of months were quite eventful. Though I didn't really speak to anyone. I sort of kept my head down a bit. I was just getting to know what everybody was about and stuff like that. But I still managed to get myself in a wee bit of trouble, especially with a beer in me. And there's some fucking mental days. Like, I got into a group of probably about 5 or 6. There's a couple of Celtic fans, a couple of Rangers fans. And these are just a couple of wee stories that are quite amusing. We were up the road. We all met at Glasgow Central. We watched the Celtic Rangers game and decided we all got a couple of beers and bottles of bucky and stuff like that to travel back down the road. On the train, we're all pissed. One of the lads got quite a bad cut in his arm. So we all got off at Birmingham, went to hospital, cut about Birmingham for a couple of hours. We got back to the train station, we all made a decision. It was either do we go back to camp, get him work for tomorrow morning, or do we go to Blackpool? That discussion lasted about 5 minutes. We went to Blackpool. So we all ended up in Blackpool the next morning. Fucked, trying to get somewhere to put our bags in. We were a mess. We were an absolute mess. So we were. Yeah, but I had a really good time doing that for a couple of years. And then opportunity came up to go on my first sort of tour away. Went to Ireland. Again, growing up a Celtic fan in Scotland, going to Ireland, it was an eye opener. Great place, great place. So sort of from there, I went back, and I decided I was probably going to leave after 3 years, but things happened that changed my mind. I decided I was going to stay in. And then we went to Iraq, and I mean that was just fucking mad. It was funny. I remember when we found out we were going, I was at a mate's wedding. As much as we'd all geared up for it, it sort of hit me massively that day that actually we're about to go to war. I was like, fucking hell. So we ended up going, and there's pictures of me floating about. I'm sure people have got them where I'm a bag of shit, absolute bag of shit. One of the funny things that happened was that I was jumping on a helicopter, and obviously with my big fucking lanky legs, or tiny legs, I tried to stand up on the ramp, and as I'm going up on the ramp of the helicopter, somebody's tried to help me and budge me up, and it's just fucking toppled me up. So I fell forward flat on my face, and as I looked up, there's a camera on me. I just thought, oh, you fucking bell end. It's weird because when I was there, I met a couple of people from Barton and things like that. And it's amazing how many people you meet. But it was a time to grow up. You had to sort of be switched on. For the start of the war, I remember driving down to different airfields and stuff like that, picking up ice cream, because it became a bit lax, to be fair. And it wasn't until a couple more telics it got a bit tasty, but thankfully by that time I was away doing other stuff. I was away back doing a lot of, so I just mentioned about getting courses done that are courses that you need to progress and stuff like that. But during this time I was still a bit of a fucking nightmare on the bevy and stuff like that, and just being a sort of 22, 23-year-old lad. One of the other things that happened is, this is quite funny, and if a lad watches this, he'll know exactly who I'm talking about. But again, like I say, I'm not going to mention any names. But I got back late one night. It was a Sunday night. I got back, and I slept in. Essentially, I slept in, and as I jumped out of the car, that's not in the car. Sorry, I jumped out of the room. The boy across from me had also slept in. So I thought, fucking hell, that bit's the odds. And the two of us are looking at each other, and he said to me, mate, what are we going to do? I was like, well, I'm late. I'm just going to go fucking back to my bed. He's like, no, I'm going to go up the hill. I'm going to run up the hill. Quite a big hill, but a mile away from where we were. And the hill up to it's fucking huge. And he's saying to me, he's like, I'm going to go. I was like, I'll catch you later on then, mate. So I went back in the room, and at the time it was short sleeve order. So what that means is you've got to have your sleeves rolled up to sort of elbow length. So I thought, right, how am I going to get out of this one? I know what to do. So I rolled the sleeve up, lay on the floor, fucking rubbed my elbow on the floor, gave it a right good rub, got a carpet burn on my elbow, rubbed my head a little bit, got a carpet burn on my head, grabbed my pillow, stuck it on. I still remember I was watching Charlie's Angels. It was just lying on the floor watching Charlie's Angels. And I heard the door go. So there's two doors, one into the corridor and then my room door. I heard the fucking outer door go, so I throw the pillar back up, and I just lie there, fucking, my door bangs. I'm like, ignoring it for a second. And then it goes again. Groggy as fuck. Who is it? Who is it? And the guy shouted, it's me. At this point, I'm just fucking trying to play the game. And he's like, what is it? And he's opened my door. And he's like, what's happened to you? And I'm laying the flare at this time like a bag of shit. One sleeve up, one sleeve down. Carpet burn on the elbow, carpet burn on the head. And I just said, I was like, oh, mate, I must have fainted. I must have fainted, like, stay to me. We went up the tap, went at the sergeant major's office. He's like, what the fuck's happened to you? I was like, I must have fainted, so must have done. He's like, do you feel all right, or do you need to go to the doctor? I was like, I think I'll be all right. He must have known I was blagging. But it was commitment to the cause. I ended up with a fucking couple of carpet burns. So I seen my mate a couple of days later, and what's happened to you? And I was like, fuck all, mate. I fainted, didn't I? He got fined that day, got charged and fined. He fucking never lets me live it down. But yeah, that's the kind of daft shit I was doing. But I mean, through that time, I was starting to get heated again a bit as well. I was doing everything I had to do to get promoted and stuff like that. A couple of years had passed, and we, the 2 years again, me and the same lad, both had the opportunity to go to Australia. And he hesitated. And I managed to get a 4-month trip to Australia. All expenses paid. It was fucking brilliant. And again, I missed the flight from Sydney back to where I was. So again, I was out on a piss, supposed to fly back up. I just slept in, ended up fucked for a couple of days. Then ended up having to cancel my bank card and stuff like that while I was in Australia. So again, even though I was progressively getting better, I was still a fucking nightmare at times. So when we come back, we went to, before I went to Australia, we went to a theme park while we were away. Whole group is probably talking 15, 20 years. We'd been on a beer the night before, and we went to this theme park in Wales. And I ended up just jumping in the lake. The guy came down and said to me, right, get out of the park. And I said, no, I'm sorry, mate, blah, blah. And he let me stay in. So on the way out the park later on that day, I jumped in the water at the bottom of the log flume. And he came out, the same guy, and he was going to fucking nut at me. And I started trying to speak Welsh to him. That didn't get in too well, to be fair. So I got banned for that park for life, apparently. So I need to try and go back one day and see if life actually means life. Yeah. Again, so fast forward, went to Australia. Decided while I was there I was going to live there forever when I left. So when I get back to the UK, I decided again that probably time was for me to leave the army, because I wanted to go and do tours and stuff like that, and at the time there was other plans for me, so I decided to sign off at the time. And then I had a change of heart after being told I could go and do a couple of tours. So I went back to Iraq for a 6-month tour, and during that I get selected to go to Afghan the following year. So it was a busy 2 years. Afghan for me, I absolutely loved it. It was what I wanted to do. My sort of whole military career was going to do my job somewhere. And this was a chance to actually do it as a section commander. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot out there. Seen a couple of shitty things, but you sort of just crack on with it. You know, you learn a lot about yourself, but you also learn a lot about the guys you're working with as well, the team. And yeah, it was a good time. I had a good 6 months. Came back and sort of just minced about for another year. Got promoted and then got posted out for another couple of years. And just before I get posted, I proposed to Kelly at that time, and we were getting married. So we went to Inverness. I remember telling her we went up for a visit, and I'd said to her that Inverness is like the north of Scotland. It's pure Highlanders, and you're going to see the real Scotland. They'll probably be wearing kilts and stuff like that, talking Gaelic. And the B&B we booked into was actually, the door opened and it was an Indian guy there saying welcome to my sort of B&B, and I sort of just laughed and said, well, it's one of the things. So spent a couple of years up there. I think ended up about 3 years in total, which was really good because we'd just been married. We had a daughter up there as well. So at least my daughter's Scottish, probably more Scottish than me. But yeah, I think, yeah, it was a good 3 years up there, decent bit of family time and stuff like that. But then it was time to go back to the regiment. About 2015, and it was a totally different pace of life. You went from being sort of home every day, home every night, to actually working quite a lot. So we moved back down. That time, Kel was pregnant with our wee boy as well. So we had our son when we moved back down south. So we had 2 kids, and we were married. We moved to Tidworth. But we decided quite quickly that Kel was going to move back up the road with events, getting steady for school and stuff like that. And I would move into MS for my sort of last couple of years, which kind of worked well because they came up and got settled in and stuff like that. But travelling up every weekend, fucking hell, hated that fucking journey. So we were steady away for a couple of years, and then promoted a couple of times, done a couple of different jobs, went to Canada. I might be able to tell some funnier stories at some point about Canada, but like I say, I'm not going to sort of mention people's names in it just in case they don't want me to. There'll come a point where I'll ask them at some point if we can get them on. But one of the things that did happen in Canada, I let it be known that I fucking hated sort of birds and stuff. Birds, pigeons, seagulls, whatever it was. So one of the boys decided they'd throw fucking breadcrumbs on my wagon, spray them about, and then I was going forward by a fucking seagull. And actually another funny story, it's like, we're all sitting playing cards one night as you do, just shooting a shit. And one of the boys says, can I get a bit of food out of your wagon? And I said, I go. And he came back and he's looking fucking sly, he's laughing. And he's saying, what's the worst thing that can happen to you if you're... Like, what's the worst thing you think could happen inside your vehicle? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't know. And I realised my driver was actually inside my wagon having a fucking shit. And I fucking lost it. I absolutely lost the plot with him. And after that, he's like, but I cleaned it. I was like, fucking hell, it's not something you do. And to be fair, he was fucking annoying with the whole exercise anyway, so that was sort of the last straw for me. Like I say, so around about the end of the year, Kel moved back up the road where he went to where we live now, and I just continued on as we were going. But a massive event happened in 2017, which massively sort of changed my life at the time, and still to this day, still sort of have days with it. Basically, we were away on camp, firing camp, and there was a massive accident, and a couple of lads died. And being sort of one of the first responders, along with a team of a whole load of other people. We've done what we could do on that day. But the aftermath, that's what really, the aftermath for me, it'd be different for other people, of course, but for myself, it was, I went to a really dark place. Yeah, I sort of refused to take any help. I thought, I don't need it, I'll be absolutely fine, make sure other people are all right, and then maybe eventually I'll go and get it. But slowly but surely, I was drinking more, wasn't sleeping, just maybe 3-4 hours a night I was getting. And you can sort of feel yourself, maybe the drink becomes more often, scared to go to sleep, like staying on at night just in case you wake up and don't know where you are and shit like that. Really bad time, and this went on for a year or two. And it would always come out when you're talking to people. But when you would be on stuff like that, that's when it starts to flow. You tell people where you're at, and a couple of guys massively offered me help. I remember sitting in France with somebody, really good mate. I told him over where I was, and then I told another person where I was. But you sort of don't want to drop your shit on other people. This went on and on. It just kept building up, and Kel was taking a lot of the flack as well, because I was pretty much a bit of an arsehole, probably hard to live with at the time. But that's where I was, and I continually said, like, I don't need help, I'll be fine. And I know people noticed. People were telling me, you know what I mean, you need to do this, you need to do that, but you get stubborn. So I kept saying no to it. I talked to people when I felt I had to. Always talking to the people who were there was always a good outlet, because you know they're sort of feeling the exact same as you. But then something happened one night. I was just fucking been on a bevy, whatever it was, and I don't know, something startled me. I just had a bit of a moment where I sort of broke down, to put it a better way, completely fucking snapped. And that to me was probably the breaking point for me, where I knew then that I had to go and sort of get a bit of help with people. So I went to see some professionals. They turned out to be nothing more than a signpost, which is pretty shameful. And then I went and done some high intensity therapy, which was absolutely amazing. Over the course of 18 weeks, initially it was to be 12 weeks. And then if I needed more, it would be 18 weeks. And I remember I spoke to a girl for a couple of weeks, the therapist, and she said to me, she's like, you're not getting much away. But so I'll go back, but what happened is she absolutely broke me down right for being a baby, childhood, teenage years, fucking straight through to the army. And what I said at the start is, what I know now, and I can probably relate it all back to everything that's happened to me in my life. I've probably always had some problems that were never ever dealt with. Yeah, so they were never ever dealt with. That's why I can say now, looking back, I think there's always been issues there. And had they been dealt with at the time, you never know, you know. But she said to me a couple of weeks in, it was like, every one of their things could have given you a PTSD. And it's amazing that they knew this is the one that has actually got you here. So when I was speaking to her this couple of weeks, and she said to me, you're not giving me much, you're not talking about the incident, and da 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 da. She said,
I need to try and, I think she challenged herself, said about 12, 14 weeks, I need to get them sort of talking. And at the 10, 13 weeks, we went back to the incident, and what we done is she said, right, show me. She got it on Google Earth. And I hadn't been back there by this point. I had actually been back once. We got it on Google Earth and I taken her through it. And again, that kind of fucking was massive for me, but it was also brutal at the time. I literally sat there and thought, fuck me, this is hard. And it was. But she, as good as the sessions were, there's still days where it can get pretty shit. There's always something in the corner just ready to fucking knock you. And some of the things I do know is that I've got mechanisms where if I know that I'm starting to go that way, then I can just sort of do something and sort myself out, level myself out a bit. But without going to that, them therapy lessons, I don't know if I would have managed to do it. Could have been a lot worse than what I was. And I probably wish I went a wee bit sooner. But stubbornness being where it was, I just thought, nah, don't fucking need it. Turns out I did need it. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I've tried to do things as well where I've done a few courses and stuff like that to try and understand it a bit more. Maybe be able to help people when they need it. But without dwelling on it too much, it never goes away. Simple as that. Just now I know that I can deal with it better. So, I mean, I dealt with that for the last couple of years. My career, probably last 4 years there. But managed to get it, done my full term. And it takes me sort of, when I got out and got a civvy job during COVID, didn't last very long. Got another job in the military. And now I'm here the day. I'm trying to build a couple of platforms on podcasts. And essentially, if you've seen any of the other ones, you'll see this one's the same. It's about trying to give the normal person a bit of a voice to have a wee look, try and get their stories out there, get their points across, whether it be in a sports match or just in life, because there's people with plenty of stories to tell. My own story is a lot longer than what's been on here, but so I don't want to name anybody's names, and I don't want to do. Like I said, it's about trying to give a voice back to the people. My own story is a lot longer than what's on this video, but because I'm sort of trying to interview myself, so to speak, it's probably got a lot cut out. But if you do want to come on the new platform, TABA, feel free to drop me a line, and I'll aim to get you on. I hope you have enjoyed it. And if you've got any questions for me, just fire away. I'm open to it. TABA, in case you're wondering, stands for Tell All By All. I didn't want to mention it at the start because now I've got to use right to the end of the video for you to hear it. If you've watched it, thanks very much. If you've skipped through bits, thanks very much. Like I say, I've not named anybody's names because don't want to embarrass anybody, but there's been a lot of people who have played big, massive parts in my life. So cheers for that. And if I can ever do anything to help you, please let me know. Cheers and good night.